Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen from all over the world. We're here in Toronto at Papizh Law Firm, and we're starting our webinar this afternoon. It's 5 o'clock here in Toronto. And this webinar is going to focus on the subject of blockchain, as well as the most lucrative or desirable countries where a person who might be involved in digital assets might want to locate themselves from the point of view of perhaps minimizing taxes, but also taking advantage of a second passport, a place to live that might be interesting for them from the point of view of their family or themselves. So we'll get into that theme in a moment, but perhaps the place to start would be first to introduce ourselves. I'm here with Andriy Papizh, and my name is Andriy Semotiuk, and we're with Papizh Law Firm. So a little bit about us first, and then about the firm, and then we'll get into the subject. So perhaps I can start with myself, Andriy Semotiuk. I'm a US and Canadian lawyer. I've been practicing immigration law for about 40 years. I'm a member of the bars in New York and California in the United States, and in Ontario and BC in Canada. I've helped over roughly 10,000 clients with various legal problems, and I write for Forbes on investor immigration. My colleague here today is a younger man. His name is Andriy Papizh. He's a legal assistant in our law firm here at Papizh, and he is also a graduate of a program in Canada that's unique. It's for Canadian consultants, immigration consultants. It's a program in Canada where people who focus on the area of immigration can practice immigration law, as well as immigration lawyers can, in that they are qualified in that one field, as opposed to generally where a lawyer might be practicing in a variety of fields. But Andriy is here in particular because of the fact that he's very interested in the blockchain. And in conversations between us, we came to the view that, gee, it's probably a good idea to have Andriy join me in this webinar so we can talk a bit about the blockchain, about cryptocurrencies, and then talk about our particular field of specialty, that is to say, the immigration element that coincides with the area of working in the cryptocurrency field. In terms of Papizh Law Firm, Papizh Law Firm has about 130 people working at it. We are, as I mentioned, located in Toronto, and we have a group of about 12 people who work in our immigration department. And we help people from all over the world. Investors in particular are our strength. We help investors with immigration issues pertaining to either coming to Canada, the United States, or any of the other countries that offer citizenship or residency programs for investors. And today in particular, we're going to be talking about 3 such countries, which we'll get into in a moment. But before we go much further, we can just click onto our slides here, and we'll just try to, as you can see, that's our Papizh immigration logo. And as we go on, we're going to go into our first slide. But before we do, I'm just wondering if we could check on the chat function here. Can you help me out with that, Andriy? Where is that?
I think this should be here.
Ah, yes, okay. We're going to check, and I see we have a few people who've sort of checked in with us. But we invite you, if you're watching, we'd be interested to know, where are you from? And as people are sort of tuning in, it would be very interesting to find out where are people tuning in from. And we'll mention, your name and where you're from. What city are you from? What country are you from? Just send us a chat on your screen there, and let us know. I see we got Ernest Hamilton there, who's sent us a note, and there's a guy, Saleh, Mohammed Heleni is there from Singapore. Hey, welcome Singapore. How are things in Singapore? Great to see you. And there's, Ernest is saying hello again there. Yeah, so if you're watching the webinar and if you got a moment, do send us a chat, mention where you're from so we can mention and greet you from the countries that I see Dan is there from Montreal. Hey, way to go, Dan. Nice to see you on the chat. Keep that up as we go through our presentation. So I've said enough. Let's turn it over to my colleague here, Andriy. Andriy, it's over to you. Take us through your part of our presentation, and I'll tune in a while. Go ahead, Andriy.
Okay, thank you very much, Andy. Hello, everybody. So I assume part of our audience already is very well acknowledged about blockchain and cryptocurrency, but we also might have people who are quite new to it. So I'll have like a very short overview of that topic before we move on to immigration, taxes and immigration. So blockchain, as we know, blockchain is a distributed ledger where information is stored in a safely in a list of growing records or blocks. So this technology was invented in 2008 by Satoshi Nakamoto. Some say it's an individual, some people say...
It's a Japanese guy, right?
Well, it's a Japanese name, but it could be, well, not a Japanese person.
Wow.
And some people say it's a group of people, but who knows? Many of us still trying to guess who this person is. And what's interesting that this technology, it's just like a gift of God to people. So it's decentralized, it's transparent, it's immutable, it has no central authority. Once you store information on blocks, on blockchain, you cannot tamper it. The next slide, I wanna mention cryptocurrency. And cryptocurrency is a blockchain application. It's cryptocurrency is a digital asset, part of the new asset class. It is used as a method of payment or for investment purposes. So imagine there's a blockchain company and they sell the tokens, and investors buy those tokens, they hold them, and they once the price goes up, they get their income, their rewards, gains.
Are the tokens the way they exchange currency between each other or pay for things?
So yeah, tokens can be used for payments, peer-to-peer payments. Tokens can be like commodity, like shares. So they grow in value over time. And there is a variety of tokens. There are utility tokens, governance tokens, and what's the most important is that they are decentralized. There is no central bank or central authority that is about those assets.
So is Bitcoin a token?
That's right. Bitcoin is a coin, so there is a difference between tokens and coins, actually.
Okay, that's
so. Coins, they have their own ecosystem, and tokens, they usually are attached to. There's a company blockchain, there's a token, and this token is attached to some certain ecosystem.
Okay.
And then it's digital, so you cannot hold it as paper money. They are encrypted. They are decentralized again, so this is very important. There's no bank, there is no government that can actually interfere, manipulate, or can tell you, they are not yours, or we're gonna do something with your assets. No, these are yours, and you can pass it to somebody else if you want to. They are encrypted, should be anonymous. We say there's a little mistake here, yeah.
Okay.
And so we apologize about that. Cryptocurrency is global, so there are no borders. And this is very interesting. So I am in Canada, in Toronto, and I only have a friend in any part of the world, and I can send these tokens or coins to my friend within minutes or even sometimes seconds, and the amount in tokens can be equal to millions of dollars, US dollars. And it is instrument of investing. So there was this graph released recently how the assets do during this COVID time. And the crypto assets, digital assets, just were so much better. We're giving so much more income comparing to traditional assets such as bonds or stocks.
So they're basically a means of currency, meaning trading. It's for example, like gold used to be historically, where they traded gold to trade for goods. One person would pay gold, the other person would give, let's say, leather. So this is a new way of basically trading using these digital assets.
Actually, very good, like the way you mentioned it, because now certain experts, more and more experts, compare Bitcoin to digital gold. Why? Because there is a very limited number of Bitcoin, same as gold, and you mine it as much as you mine, like the same. In a digital way, you might mine Bitcoin, but you mine gold, and you can use it to exchange for goods, services. You can pay for work. There are companies they hire employees and pay them, but with cryptocurrency.
So it's like digital money is
digital money, at the same time, commodity. At the same time, it's asset. It can be everything. It can be protocol, money, and asset.
Okay.
And the next slide that
I'm sure most of the people who are watching know more about this than we do in terms of, but nonetheless, it's good to cover the basics.
Yeah, I think we have quite, the audience has different experience with crypto assets. But
we should say, look, we're not experts on cryptocurrency or blockchain. I think, we're not pretending to be experts, but we have an interest in this area. And we're sharing our interest with the viewers in the same way that we might have a discussion around the family table where we're talking about what we know, sharing it with you, and hopefully you will share it through your comments, whatever you might be interested in sharing with us, and we'll carry on a conversation this way. Our interest or our expertise is in the area of immigration, which is an area we're coming to, but we did want to wade into this area, and Andriy has and we'll be wading further into it just in that way, just so you know. Okay, sorry about that, Andriy.
Thank you, Andy. Yeah.
So, I hope you don't mind my interrupting.
Oh, absolutely. I welcome. Basically, it's very well said. We are not experts in blockchain cryptocurrency, but this is a new asset class, and we have investors that are in need to actually plan for residency.
Yeah, and we have an interest in this area.
Absolutely, to help them. So this slide will be depicting the early stages, a little bit of early stages, and where cryptocurrency as digital asset, as asset class is today. It's interesting that we have only about 36 million crypto wallets in the world, despite the population.
Just a comment on wallets. How does that, is that like a bank account, or how would you describe a wallet?
It's similar to bank account, except that it's on blockchain. It's decentralized, and in most cases, there's no there's no central authority that can actually tell you what to do with the wallets or get into your wallets, freeze your assets.
Okay.
So there is a difference between, some companies open wallets, but they keep this private key to themselves. And
I know I wouldn't want anybody in my wallet, so I know what you're talking about.
But most like what is good about wallets comparing to bank accounts is that once you have the private key, the information is immutable. You can access your wallet anywhere in the world, and you can carry in your wallet with having access to that wallet on through your app or through your application on the computer at any time, and you can hold there. There's no limit how much you can actually hold in those wallets.
So it's kind of like an unlimited bank account.
Pretty much, except that there is no central authority that can actually
do
something about it.
Keep going there.
So just shortly, we'll shortly mention the key moments here. So we are in early stages, but there is already a huge interest and involvement into crypto, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and blockchain industry. There is a growing interest of institutional investors, and I want to just mention a few. J.P. Morgan, that was like hugely skeptical about Bitcoin or about cryptocurrency. Now they are at the front line, and I should mention hedge funds. There are pension funds. There are huge banks like Deutsche Bank doing a lot of research in there, in that area. Hedge funds like Pantera Capital, for example, they used to have all assets kept in traditional form, so shares, bonds, and now they go 50-50. Then we see fintech companies that include cryptocurrency as part of their services. Visa is 100% in crypto. They're issuing Visa cards to members of blockchain payment projects, startups.
This is why when you told me about this, when we were talking and preparing for this webinar, this is where I particularly tuned in. I thought, wow, this is like very significant, this development in the fintech industry, and how you described it and how you are describing it. I think that's very significant for the future of this whole area.
Everything is moving so fast, Andy. PayPal, I think 3 or 4 months ago, announced that they would build their own platform where you could buy, hold, and sell cryptos. And PayPal, there's like hundreds of millions of customers.
Yeah, that's.
All right, there's something happening. So, okay, we're here. So people from Singapore. Oh, interesting.
So we're just having a little trouble with the video. Oh, I think it's back up, is it? Terrific. Just an apology. Just to make sure that we've covered the same stuff, maybe you want to back up to the,
Sure.
to mention fintech and go from there, say?
Yeah, so fintech companies.
Welcome back, by the way, everybody who's there.
Yeah, sorry about interruption, and we are glad to have you back to stay with you. And speaking of fintech companies who express very practical and growing interest in blockchain and cryptocurrency, we mentioned Visa, and Visa is just
Right.
everywhere. And just one example about Visa, there is Crypto.com, so-called they call it crypto bank, and so we go to McDonald's and we spend. We tap our Visa card, and
Right.
McDonald's gets fiat. So
Right.
this
just going to an ordinary store that they had a cryptocurrency machine that you could use to get cryptocurrency as well. So
Yeah.
it's pretty popular.
It's coming.
And it seems to be everywhere. But back to you.
And and PayPal. So like I mentioned earlier, I don't know if this was caught on camera, but PayPal is going also huge on crypto.
Yeah.
And now national governments, without national governments, mass adoption is not really possible, or it would be very slow. So it's happening, and there is a number of countries who have already voted and brought into effect special blockchain laws. So if you go to Malta, if you go to Liechtenstein, they have blockchain acts, and they already regulate what you do with your cryptocurrency. And you can go in Liechtenstein to the post office and you can actually purchase Ethereum, or they have blockchain.
Ethereum being
Bitcoin.
one of the kinds of cryptocurrency.
Yeah, that's right. Or for example, South Korea recently has changed the law. They gave official status to cryptocurrency and virtual. They call it virtual assets, virtual currency, and virtual exchanges. And the Korean president has signed that law, and it's coming to effect next year.
Okay.
So they go that heavily on blockchain. In blockchain, that they are going to empower highways. You know, when you on the highway, you have to pay for using highways, and the whole information will be used, will be stored on blockchain. Now, Coca-Cola is now developing their trying to join blockchain. So
well, Coca-Cola, if they're joining, that means everybody's joining.
That's right.
Okay.
And then central bank digital currencies, and central banks of like United States, China.
It's the decentralized nature of the blockchain. So there's going to have to be some work done on how they match up there, I suppose.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, central bank digital currencies are not decentralized, so they are centralized. And China is trying to use to develop their CBDC in order to get out of US dollar.
Yeah.
So something big is coming in that financial platform. And then we are going to move to the next slide.
I just might mention, just happened to be reading in this area that will make it more likely that this cryptocurrency can break out into a worldwide global means of exchange, essentially.
Yeah, so technologically, the industry is growing and expanding, and the speed. So there's this kind of competition between cryptocurrency companies that are involved in payments.
Right. This development of this Lightning software that apparently makes it possible to get over the speed problem and the great number of people that would normally be conducting transactions using cryptocurrency.
By the way, during COVID, I mean, we're still in this kind of era, sort of.
Yeah.
Hopefully it will end soon. But when it began, U.S. government was kind of thinking what is the best way to deliver financial assistance to people.
Oh yeah.
And one of the ways that were considered was actually using some digital token,
There's discussion
digital
about
coin.
doing that with refugees as well.
I'm assuming they might be talking about centralized central bank digital currencies.
Probably
maybe.
have to be that way. Yeah.
So they could control, but
Yeah.
but we see that it's really coming, and they want to get rid of cash
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah.
So, and now we are going to the next slide,
Right.
and the next slide is about taxes and cryptocurrency.
We're getting into closer to our area.
That's
here.
right.
Okay.
to
Get the juices flowing now.
Yep.
Okay.
So, as cryptocurrency investors and blockchain experts know, it's not easy for the early adopters. Things are not easy in North America and many other countries for blockchain communities and digital currency investors. For example, US, Canada, UK, Australia, many other countries actually consider. They say, "Oh, cryptocurrency has no legal status," but when it comes to pay taxes, they say, "Oh, it's a commodity. It's a commodity." So we're going to tax you as if you were selling stocks or bonds. And you get a capital gain. And in terms of the U.S., they are taxing everything. Almost everything is a taxable event. So you have to, of course, when you buy and hold your cryptocurrency, it's not a taxable event, but you still have to record that. You have to record everything related to purchasing, holding cryptocurrency, giving cryptocurrency as a gift to somebody else. And very often it's not easy to do that.
Yeah.
Speaking of traders, cryptocurrency traders, they say, okay, the authorities say, you should pay taxes the same. We are going to tax you the same way as we tax traditional stock traders. But there is a huge difference, and they don't understand. The authorities don't kind of don't understand the specific nature of cryptocurrency. So when you trade, when you sell your share, it's easy to keep the records. You have a share, Amazon share, you sell it, you get US dollars, so you get Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
And you just write it down, and it's all done.
Right.
Well, when you actually trade cryptocurrency, you're often involved in complicated token-to-token trading, and you have these complex combinations. And so you have to really keep track, what price was when you buy a token, when you sell a token, when you sell token to token. So by the time actually it goes into your bank as a fiat, there's really a very large number of transactions that you have to actually record, and you have to show it to the tax authorities. Another problem is that many exchanges, cryptocurrency exchanges, where people trade cryptocurrency, buy or sell, they are outside of, let's say, Canadian and U.S. Tax jurisdictions, and that they are not required to provide any tax forms. Right. They are not doing any calculation of the transactions that the users make.
So it's not like getting a W-2 from the U.S.
Yeah.
The IRS in the United States.
Yeah. So when someone is like using Coinbase, a very well-known cryptocurrency exchange, they provide customers with tax forms.
Oh, okay. And some do then.
Yeah, some do, but when you use those outside of the North American tax jurisdiction, they are not obliged to do that.
Okay, so you have to produce your own records as well.
You have to do everything on your own. And so now going further, unfortunately, a lot of countries follow that US approach, except, fortunately, there are a few countries that choose a liberal approach. And we are going to talk about 3 of those countries that actually almost don't tax. One of them doesn't tax at all cryptocurrency investors.
Let's go to the next slide there. Perfect.
So here we are. Yeah. I guess now Andy will take a lead.
We'll continue talking like we have, but I'll take a little bit more of a lead now here. Okay, so Andriy has helped us sort of get wade into this area, which is new for some of us, and led us to the doorstep of taxation and how countries are taxing people who are involved in digital currency trading or investing. And at this point, we should really say that, again, we are not experts on tax. We cannot give tax advice. What we can do is simply share with you what we've researched, and Andriy has been kind enough to do some research on this, primarily on this tax area for us, and I had a little bit of research as well. So what we're going to do is share what we have discovered. This is by no means exhaustive, and again, since we are not tax experts, if you're going to make a choice based on tax, this is kind of a guidance for you to use with your tax advisor, who will ultimately decide yes or no whether what we are saying about a given country is suitable for you as an investor. So, like jokingly, we might say we don't know what we're talking about in this area. It's true, you could accuse us of that, but we have done research, and we're not total novices in this area. But again, sadly, we're not here to give you tax advice, perhaps happily for you, but we are here to give you immigration advice, which is what we're coming to. But the point here is that there are certain countries that we've identified that are tax-friendly for investors. And we've got 3 here. They're not the only ones. There's a few others. I know Cyprus, for example, might be another country that we could speak about. But for today, we're going to talk about Germany, Malta, and Portugal. And this table pretty much tells you in a summary way what's going on tax-wise in these 3 countries. And Andriy has been kind enough to identify the tax rate through his research that we would expect a business would. So I guess, Andriy, you're saying in Germany it's 15% a business would pay in income tax. Is that the idea?
Yeah, that's right. So Germany has, I guess, a good tax rate for companies, for corporations. It's a 15%, but the difference is, of course, when we talk about individual crypto investors.
Right. What's the deal with the German no tax on individuals? But you say something there. What's that say there?
Yes.
Conditions apply?
So, yeah. So
small print,
So in Germany, individual crypto investors, they don't pay tax on crypto if they hold crypto for over a year, and then sell it. Then it doesn't matter how much you make on that sale. What is the capital gain?
Right.
If you hold it over 12 months, you do not pay. You're not taxed. Or if you do trade on a daily basis, but your let's say your gain is not above 600 euro, then you are not taxed. Other than that, if you actually do day trading in Germany and you make about 600 euro annually, you may be taxed. You may be taxed
above the 600 mark, right?
Yeah, about the 600 euro mark annually. Your tax can be
as
up to 45.
Yep. As an individual.
Your tax may be up to 45%.
Okay.
It's quite a lot.
So same with Malta here, more or less. I see conditions apply on individual taxpayers. What kind of conditions are we talking about there?
It's interesting. Again, similar to Germany, cryptocurrency investors in Malta are not taxed if they hold cryptocurrency for a year or longer.
Okay.
But if they do day trading, they will be taxed as business, as if these individuals were conducting business activities.
Okay. All right. And Well, you can see here from the slide what the respective situations are with respect to each country. Let's move on and talk about each country a little bit in more detail. So now we're getting into an area that we do know something about in terms of what we're talking about.
Oh, I just wanted, and
Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
go ahead.
just
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to mention, because people saw we kind of skipped Portugal, but we did not skip. We will mention more about
Right.
Portugal later, but
Yeah.
Portugal does not tax individual cryptocurrency investors at all.
Okay, yeah,
You can
good point,
trade
yeah.
as much as you want. You can make as much as you want,
Right.
as long as you're not registered
See,
as a
that's
business.
why we're going to say Portugal is one of the best places to go
Yep.
to. We'll come to that in a sec, but thanks for reminding me on that. Okay, so Germany, what do you have to get in now? Because we're going into these three countries, we have to do a little bit of background explanation so people understand what we're talking about. In the area of immigration, there are various stages of immigration. So, for example, you may be a citizen of the country you live in. Citizenship is the highest form of presence in a country. And then below citizenship is permanent residence. In the United States, for example, green card holders are permanent residents. In Canada, a maple leaf card holder is a permanent resident. Such an individual has the right to live permanently in the country, and for all intents and purposes is the same as a citizen, except for some limited rights in the area of voting, or in terms of perhaps running for office, or perhaps working with police forces or in the army, or something of that nature. Those are the two most stable and long-term ways that you can be present in a country. Beyond that, or below that, there's a sort of a non-immigrant status. Those statuses were immigrant statuses or citizen status. But in the non-immigrant category, we're coming to the first one here in Germany. It's something short of permanent residence, but it is a resident permit, meaning for a time you are entitled to live in Germany. Now, it can lead and graduate to permanent residence, and then lead and graduate to citizenship. So here's how we're going to go. We're going to go from the permanent resident to permanent residence and then to citizenship in Germany. And briefly, what Germany requires is an investment of 350,000 euros in real estate and in entrepreneurial investment fund. And you can get your permanent residency within 3 to 5 years. If we go to a second slide here, we'll show how that breaks down. Basically, 250,000 euros are required for a real estate investment, at least that amount or more. And then you also have to invest 100,000 euros in what they call, let's see if I can pick this up, a regional development fund that the government has. So basically the total is 350,000 euros. And you have to be invested for 5 years to qualify for the permanent resident category. You have to be over 18 years of age in order to qualify, of course. And there is a security clearance as well as a criminal record clearance that you have to go through. And your family can come with you. Any children 18 years of age can also come or under. In terms of the paths now to the second level, paths to permanent residence, what is required is that you have to be resident in Germany for 21 months in order to be eligible to apply for permanent residence. If you're a resident for 21 months and you can pass a German language exam at the intermediate level, you can get permanent residence. Or let's say you're a little slow on languages, like I am, and maybe it takes a little longer to learn a language. Well, then in that case, you can try at the 33-month mark. If you can get basic German, you're in. Now, during this period, you have to stay in Germany and you cannot leave for longer than 6 months. You can go on visits outside, but you must come back within a 6-month period. And then, in terms of citizenship, what you have to show is that you've resided in Germany for a period of 8 years to qualify for German citizenship. In other words, you could be a dual citizen. Let's say you're from the United States, You could be a citizen of the United States and become a citizen of Germany, also be a dual citizen. But it would take you 8 years to get to that point where you can apply for the German
There's one moment. I'm
citizen.
sorry,
Go ahead.
Andy, for interrupting. Dual citizenship in Germany is allowed, but not automatically. So let's say if Germans want to become U.S. citizens or Canadian citizens, they do have to ask German government to allow them to do that in order to not lose their German citizenship automatically. Speaking of, yes, because Germany is a great country. Their passport is excellent passport.
It sure
like it's I believe it's like top 5 countries. So we have this list and with the best passports in the world, and German passports in the first top 5, I think.
Yeah.
And but if Canadians or U.S. citizens want to become Germans, it's still there's a call for allowing foreigners to acquire German citizenship and to
Germany
keep their.
Sorry.
But it's still in the development. So that law.
Germany has always been rather possessive about German citizenship, so there's a tangle there. But generally, the rule is 8 years or 7 if you can show that you have integrated into Germany. Eligibility arises at that stage, and then there's the issue of dual residence or dual citizenship that a lawyer would have to help you with in terms of applying and dealing with that issue.
And by the time, because Germany is really working on allowing everybody to keep their previous citizenship and become Germans. By the time somebody, by the time 8 or 7 years passes, I think this situation will be settled.
Yeah. Okay, and now we're talking about Malta. Malta is the quickest country for citizenship, and that's it's the kind of the gold standard in terms of getting citizenship in Europe. And here are the particulars. You can get citizenship by a real estate investment or a lease involving the investment involving 816,000 euros, and you can be eligible for citizenship within 12 months of being resident in Malta, which is amazingly fast in terms of by comparison to other countries for citizenship. Now, a little breakdown on that. There's 650,000 would be the, let's see, what we got is the contribution that you have to make to the Maltese government. So that's not a real estate investment as such. It's just a contribution to the Maltese government, non-refundable. And then you might buy property for 350,000 euros, or you might rent property and pay 16,000 euros per year to qualify. And then there's this an extra 150,000 euros that's required to invest in stocks, bonds, or other items that all lead towards getting permanent residence and citizenship in Malta. Again, you have to hold these investments for a period of 5 years. There are background checks and police clearances. And the big thing about Malta is it allows the investor to bring parents over who are 55 or older, as well as their children. So it's an excellent investment from that point of view. And we're going to touch back on the issue of the tax impact of these and why we're talking about these particular countries in a moment. But let me get through this path to citizenship on Malta and then go to Portugal before we do that. So remind me that before we finish off. In terms of citizenship, as mentioned here in the slide, you'll get citizenship in 12 months. Amazingly fast, 12 months. Dual citizenship is allowed, and visa-free travel to 182 destinations, including the Schengen zone.
So
so that's especially lucrative if you want to live anywhere in the European continent there. Okay, and now we're over to Portugal. Now I just want to mention here, we mentioned just earlier the issue of tax implication. Malta is very diligent in scrutinizing the investor and his doing due diligence on the money the investor has and that he's bringing to Malta. They look at the investor's entire portfolio and ensure that there's no money laundering involved and that the assets are clean and that the investor is clean. Both the assets and, of course, the criminal element. They have to pass both examinations, so to speak, inspections that Malta does. Portugal also has a due diligence element to their review of an investor, but in the case of Portugal, the due diligence has to do with the amount of money the person is investing. It's not all-encompassing, not as all-encompassing as is Malta. So the key thing is, of course, you have to have clean money, 250,000 euros, that you're going to be investing in real estate and creating jobs. And again, 5 years is what it takes to get permanent residence. Note, this is called the Golden Residence Visa. You're getting residence to start, and it's only after 5 years that you become eligible for citizenship. Again, in terms of options, the first one is you could invest 500,000 euros to get permanent residence or to go down the path to permanent residence, or you can purchase a property that needs to be upgraded for 350,000 euros. That's option A. Another option is the capital investment. That was the investment in real estate option. The second option is the capital investment, where you invest. One way is just invest 1 million euros in Portugal, and you will get the residence and ultimately citizenship. But the others are 350,000, in one of those two areas, or possibly 250,000 when it comes to the arts. And there's this third option of creating 10 jobs that reduces the amount that you have to invest in the real estate category by 20%. So instead of 350,000, you'd have to invest whatever 20% less of 350,000 would be to qualify for permanent residence. Okay, so that's Portugal.
I think for cryptocurrency investors, Andy, that would be easier to use the option, not the one to create 10 jobs, but just invest a lump sum. You may have made 10 millions, 5 millions in crypto, but only the amount of money that you're investing from 250,000 to 500, depending on what option you're going for, will be scrutinized.
Yeah.
So that's a
So just a last word on Portugal. For citizenship, you have to reside there in Portugal for at least 7 days per year for 5 years
to be resident.
To be a resident, and ultimately you can become a citizen after 5 years. This is not for EU nationals, and the key thing is 184 countries in the world will recognize your passport as a Portuguese passport for purposes of visa-free travel. So what we should point out is, if you are in the digital world trading or an investor or involved in cryptocurrency, probably one of the best countries, both from the point of view of missing or minimizing taxes on your portfolio, and also from the point of view of lifestyle. Portugal is regarded as one of the top countries in the world in terms of lifestyle. Now, just to add one comment about taxation that I think needs to be made, because I'm a U.S. immigration lawyer. Unlike other countries, the U.S. taxes on citizenship as opposed to residence. So if you're a U.S. citizen, they tax you on worldwide income every year, worldwide income. So even though you didn't make the income in the United States, you're still taxable in the United States. So there are some people, increasingly in recent years, that have actually renounced their U.S. citizenship because they didn't want to be in the future taxed on worldwide income. And instead, they wanted to, say, assume one of these citizenships where the taxation is not on worldwide income, or in the case of someone like Portugal or Germany or Malta, where the taxation on their activity is minimal. So with that, I think we've come to pretty much the end of our presentation. We'll just check, let's see if we got something going in the chat room here. There's a few comments. Do you want to read that out there, Andriy? I can't read that. There's writings too.
So,
or just check what they're saying.
let's see, Ernest Hamilton is saying, I've heard state of Wyoming has zero income tax with crypto because they passed legislation saying crypto is not a currency and they want you to invest there. What about cryptocurrency states like Wyoming in the United States?
Okay, well, the issue is the taxation is federal. So state-wise, you may not have to pay tax, but boy, you're going to be paying federal tax because you can't exempt, a state can't exempt you from federal taxes in the United States. So I doubt, again, I'm not a tax expert. We are not tax experts. So let's put it this way. I'll draw an analogy. We can't give you a map to New York, but we can give you a signpost that says this is the way to New York, but you have to consult a map on getting to New York. So in the same way, we cannot give you tax advice because we're not tax experts, but we can point out the way towards getting proper tax advice so you can consult your tax advisor to make sure and confirm what we're telling you is the real McCoy. But that said, I think the, sort of fellow to fellow on the street, my reaction is watch out for the federal government in the United States if you're trying to avoid taxes. And not that I'm trying to get you to avoid taxes. I'm not trying to, just to be clear.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but even if some of the states have easier approach on taxes, crypto taxes, right? Yeah. You still have to make, you still have to declare all your transactions. You still have to declare to IRS all your activities related to crypto trading and holding your assets. And the law says, right? So if you don't report, if you don't make reports correctly, you may, find yourself on the other side of the law.
Yeah. Yeah, it's dangerous. But, as I mentioned, there are people, in fact, I have represented people who have done renunciations of their U.S. citizenship for purposes of avoiding future taxes, not their current tax. You have to pay your taxes right to the final day. But there are those who have, renounced their taxes. So what else you got there?
So
we've only got about 5 minutes left, but is there anything else there we can?
I'm trying to see if there are any questions in the chat right now. The same gentleman, Ernest Hamilton, has just stated, like, very, very correctly that it's a very, the whole crypto space and taxes in the United States, it's not clear at all. It can be quite confusing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is very confusing. And this is true because there is no clear guidance in the United States, for example, how to tax crypto investors. There is, besides when you sell crypto and you have capital gain, there is also another way to make money through staking. And IRS and SEC, so Securities Commission, have been IRS have been like very tough on cryptocurrency investors who get gains, capital gains, income from staking. And interesting that the senators wrote a letter to SEC and to IRS to ease up in that over there, but there is no response,
Yeah.
from.
Well,
my
final moments here. Is there anything else that we can pick up on there? Was there one by Roman somewhere there that was commented?
Yeah, there was. Let me just. I think I have to go a little bit. Oh, okay,
there we
here.
go. Yeah. Something about the blockchain there.
So Roman says, blockchain crypto and its regulations become a hot topic nowadays. Booming industry impacts and discovers new ways the global economy works.
Yeah.
Thank you, Papizh Law, for sharing your professional vision on how fintech investors may consider residency planning in relation to their own success.
Oh,
thank you, Roman.
Thank you, Roman, for that nice comment.
It is very true.
I think we're pretty much at the end of our time. So we want to thank you for joining us in this webinar, which we hope has been informative to you. And if you have any questions, you can always email us at Papizh Law Firm. In particular, you'll see my email there, andy@myworkvisa.com. You can email me or Andriy there. And you can always find us at our website, and we look forward to helping you in any way if you have any plans to immigrate or would like to talk about immigration. Thanks once again for attending.
Thank you for being with us.